Hello, YouStormer. It's the 29th of December 2023. We're almost at the end of the year. Let's take a look at the world's storms. Taking a look at Europe, we've got Storm Gerrit over here, and that is heading in to bring lots and lots of snow at the moment into Norway, western Norway. But the story for New Year's is going to be this storm system out here into the west. That is going to come in towards the UK and bring very strong winds across a large portion of the country and into France too. Very high waves into the Channel as well. So let's take a look at that New Year's storm. As we go ahead into the 30th of December, you can see the storm system approaching Ireland over to the west. As it comes through, it does look like the storm grows in size with a large swath of strong winds on its southern flank, so actually quite calm winds in the centre of the storm up in Scotland, according to the ECMWF here. There is this surge of winds that comes in towards the Channel. It's not outrageously strong, but what it will do, looks like, is that it's picking up quite large waves for the area, maybe the second largest of the winter. So I'm going to switch to the waves, and let's just go back a bit. I'm going to put a little pinpoint in here because I'm going to be heading down to, hopefully to New Haven, to take a look at this. And as this surge of waves comes up the Channel, you'll see the waves getting up into over 5 meters. That's very high for the English Channel. It's happened once before in this winter, and that was enormous waves, but it is very unusual in general to get over 5-meter waves there. As these storm systems have pushed through Europe, the temperatures have become quite warm, exceptionally warm actually. These are the differences from normal, and when you see it up around in this area, around in Eastern Europe, you've got temperatures of over 10 degrees above normal. The warm temperatures above normal continue across Europe into 2024. This is the January 1st temperature anomaly map. But if we go forward, and with this is the GFS model, as we go into towards the second week of January, you begin to see a surge of cold air infecting through Europe, spreading and covering most of the continent, particularly in the west, and these are temperatures of about 15 degrees below normal in the coldest spots down in France. So this is quite a long way off, but it does look like there is going to be this change at some point in the second week of January, around that time frame, with a very cold surge of air across Europe. The reason for this change is because the jet stream is undergoing a mode shift. If you look at the beginning of the forecast, this is 29th of December. This is the jet stream, very strong winds on it, west to east trajectory into the UK and into Europe. If we go forward, you'll see some kinks in the jet stream as that's the New Year's storm system moving through. That's one trough, and then we've got another surge of westerly jet stream coming through. This is now the beginning of January. This is the 2nd of January. So it's still very much west to east at this point. But look what happens as we go into the 4th and the 5th. We begin to see the jet stream becoming much more disturbed in a north-south kind of wave. And this builds up in this model, which is the European Center model, into a large, bear in mind the projection is a bit weird, but we get this large formation of an omega shape in the jet stream, and this is a omega block type pattern, and that's the end of this particular forecast. But at this point we've got this big omega block which should have an associated high pressure system, should then be pulling winds down from the north on its eastern flank. It looks like this omega block development is associated with a sudden stratospheric warming event that is developing, and I got to look more into this because I'm not up on this area of meteorology at all. But it does appear that when you do get a sudden stratospheric warming event, it acts to disrupt the jet stream in the upper troposphere, causing the greater likelihood of a blocking high pressure system and easterly winds, which are very cold for Western Europe. So it seems that we should see if it's a sudden stratospheric warming event. I'm looking now at the temperatures at 10 hectopascals. This is way higher than we usually look at. This is at 30 kilometers altitude, so we're talking well into the stratosphere. And we've got today, 29th of December. So I'm going to put in a little pinpoint way up in the north, up here, and you can see the current temperature is minus 75 Celsius. Pretty nippy. So let's see what happens. So what we should expect is that there's a big warming event of some sort. We expect those temperatures to rise. So as we go into the 31st of December, you can see it's still pretty cold, but we begin to see a large area of warmer air at these extremely high altitudes in the stratosphere. Temperature is still over our pinpoint at minus 71. As we go into January, this is the 1st of January, it's up to minus 66, minus 59, minus 52, minus 44, minus 34, minus 28. So actually, what is that? That's like, oh god, 42, 40 something odd degrees warmer than it was. So a massive warming occurring across the Arctic and that is peaking around January 4th, I think. So minus 26, and it was minus 75. So almost a 50 Celsius temperature rise. Well, that fits rather nicely with what they said in the Met Office video I just watched. Southern Africa has been having some pretty disturbed weather recently, with a lot of thunderstorms, severe flooding in some areas. There's been some damage and deaths in South Africa. But the thing I want to look at is the potential for this talk of a possible tropical cyclone developing in the Mozambique Channel. Let's take a look at that. If it did develop, then it would be the first of the season there. So you can see the low pressure immediately down here off the coast of Mozambique, which is the country in here, and that's Madagascar over here. So let's go forward and see what the GFS wants to do with this. The system forms into a discrete low pressure system and wanders off into western Madagascar, producing lots of rain over a period of time. It looks like it's very, very stagnant and does not develop heavily into a tropical cyclone, although there is another system by later in the forecast, January 8th. This is developing further off to the east. It does actually eventually form a bit of a deeper storm system here, so it's going to be one to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the ECMWF. I'll go back. Let's go back to here. Oh, it does. It's almost juicing it up a bit more. Gets it down to 1,000 millibars. But it does look like it's a significant rain event for Madagascar. Looking at the European Centre model in Windy, you can see why this tropical system is potentially forming, because there's this very persistent surge of east-southeasterly winds that comes around the southern side of Madagascar, and then you can begin to see the rotation at the coast near Beira. And as we go forward in the forecast, that moves out over the Mozambique Channel, and you can see it's a discrete circulation. Intensifies in the European Centre model. We've got winds of, this must be tropical storm force, almost there. There we go. Yeah, so it does have it as a tropical storm arriving in Mozambique, weakening as it interacts with the land on 1st of January. And this is actually today's Terra Modis imagery from the polar orbiter. And there really is a lot of convection in the Mozambique Channel associated with this circulatory system. I think that what we should look at is the maximum potential intensity in SSTs to see if this is, the ocean is obviously warm enough, I guess. So, yeah, so these are the maximum potential intensity maps showing the maximum possible intensity given the environmental and sea surface temperatures in the region. This is the southern Indian Ocean with Australia over here, and then Madagascar. The Mozambique Channel is right on the edge of the plot, but you can see that it is up in the blues, which is category 5. I mean, so essentially it is plenty warm enough to support a tropical cyclone down here. And if there was enough time and the wind shear conditions were favorable, we could see something very, very strong down here, but it doesn't look like the models are seeing that at this point. And that's about all I've got time for today, but I'm just trying to get this channel back up after it has been dead for a while, so let's get this shit moving. See you in the next one.